So, welcome back, everyone. I knew that you were coming back for our part 2 of the exposure management episode. If you haven't watched the first part, I would recommend to go to aka.ms/ninja show, and there you can find the session on demand. And of course, I have Shay back with me because we were talking so much and it's so interesting. And yes, we actually talked about the attack path last in the first part of this episode, and we want to jump right in there again. So, but before, quickly, Shay, a quick introduction who you are, and then we keep going.
Yes, so thanks for having me, Aika. I'm super happy and excited to be here again. We continue our journey talking about attack path and all the scenarios which is related to exposure management. And let's rock.
Yes. And it was so much last time, but attack path for everyone, again, it shows you a potential attack path of your, of course, considering risk, prioritization, and all of these things. And I think we stopped where you talked about those are the things currently in the picture for the internet exposed Azure VM. And those are recommendations now on how to fix it, and like to reduce the attack path. What's the right wording?
Yeah, so first of all, if we think about attack paths, right, it's another aspect when we can see about something that putting your environment at risk currently, right? At this moment, you have attack paths, which the attacker, again, it's like a perspective. You want to see things from the attacker sides of view. Everything about exposure is to think about not as a defender, which is a good approach. You want to see things maybe a little bit different from the attacker side of you. So attack path is a potential risk that putting your environment in a current state, which the attacker could leverage and get into your environment. Now we will try to, like we already know, try to find the entry point of that moment, right, to expand this through. And this is what we actually see. So those attack paths are coming from sources. Sources could be the CSPM, the Cloud Security Posture for Defender for Cloud, for example. So we grabbing those sources and bring it out to here. It could be a potential attack path from on-prem to cloud. It could be from cloud to cloud. Things like as a potential risky user with a privileged identity, for example, have access to a key vault, but the machine which I'm accessing from having a remote code execution vulnerability. So I need to solve it now. It's not something I can wait with, right?
This is so cool, Shay. I mean, just like, as you said, like building that connection, like there is a user account, like how does someone know what that user account has access to and what's like critical or not? Like this is so important. But now, can they do something? Like how would they solve it? Like, do we provide them with a step-by-step? Do we have a button, fix it? Like, where are we at this point?
That's an awesome question because we know a lot about motion that should be announcing soon, with all the AI capability, the most kind of things that we are talking. Why shouldn't someone close and, fix it, all of us?
Yes.
But we still need to be kind of thinking about what could be the potential of remediation here, right? So if it's about closing management ports, I mean, it should be easy. I mean, easy from the implementation, putting a whitelist in the network security group rule or firewall, things like
But
that.
are you blocking business now?
Exactly. And in the other end, if it's not a management port, like you said, if it's a business decision, someone need to improve that. So it's always about to mediate, like we say, forcing is not something you can put at first. Again, you can take an action, but in the other end, you need to consider business, right? Risk decision. So that's what we are providing at this stage. So at this stage, it's only a subset of recommendation that we recommend you to implement to solve this attack path. Now, if you will solve it out generally on all of your environment with policy, for example, it will make sure those attack paths will not appear again. And that's sometimes question which I get. Tell me which is the most famous kind of device which involved in attack path. If you show me, I get those kind of feedback from customers. If you show me this is device such as SQL, maybe I will solve it and then it will remove all of my attack path. But it's also possible to show things like entry point. Can you group those attack paths by an entry point? And some of the customers prefer to do it like this and not go by each one of the attack paths, for example.
Yes, why waiting? Show me now.
Yeah, so if we just look in here, when we actually stop, it was in the recommendation about Internet exposed Azure VM with high severity vulnerability that allow lateral movement to Azure SQL Server. So those are the recommendations, and each one of the recommendations will pop out some kind of overview, the remediation step, which ones need to be taken care,
Mm-hmm.
what are the specific entities, if there are entities, and which are they, and those could be also linked to be managed. Now, it's interesting thing, right? Because this specific recommendation is need to be managed from the Azure portal side because this one is related to portal.
Mm-hmm.
So it will take us to Microsoft Defender for Cloud portion, open it up and allow you to enforce it by any remediation pattern you want. You can either do policy or things like that. Now, we talked about grouping. Maybe you don't want to tackle those by the name. So what you can do here, for example, I can do grouping by target type. Now, it's interesting to see the pattern here, right? We can see things not just like Azure Cloud. We see here AWS as well. Now,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's really want to provide a customer the focus. We think you want to be focused. So he said, maybe if I see three RDS DB instances in AWS and I will solve them out, it will remove three of my kind of potential attack paths. So if I expand it out, I will be able to see which one of relations is related to those. So we can see not just we have also attack paths that are affecting, we also have a kind of high potential risk because we put criticality. So it's connected
Mm-hmm.
the story when it talked about crown jewels. This is also an asset which is marked as critical and also now is part of the attack path. So right now we need to think about it. This clear need to be blank. Blank mean
Yes.
that we solve. There's need to be persona. Someone can do anything because it could be involved. SQL guy need to be in place. It could be the identity team, but it's a combination of subset of recommendation that you want to implement to make sure those attack paths will trigger up again after
Mm.
you. So this is how we see it. If you need more information, let's say the attack path is not enough, you want to see more context or learning about those assets, what could be the potential, you can combine it what we explained in our first chapter when we met, Ike. You can take it to the map, paste the name of the asset, the identity, try to explore it, try to see the potential of the risk. If that's something you wouldn't care about it, you can accept it. But in the other kind of story, it's a potential and it's a risk,
Mm.
and you want to be proactive and solve it before it will become a evidence.
I see a few more things that I want to discover with you momentarily. But so let's assume someone saw it, the announcement, someone saw the episode, now goes, grabs a license. Um, then they will see exposure management appear in the Defender XDR, like security.microsoft.com. And then I would assume magically everything that they have onboarded, Defender for Identity, Defender for Endpoint, all of this will be already there, or do they need to do the connection?
They don't need to do. With first party, like you said, it's already been there. What we will definitely do and tell them, for example, things like, look, we know that you have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, but you don't have full coverage. To allow us to give you more data and more kind of sensor and more kind of recommendation, we need you to on board to allow us to give you that information. I have
Mm-hmm.
done this with some of my customers. We found they have the solution, but they didn't have coverage. Now you don't want to hear about someone's kind of, yes, there is a complication to install this sensor there and there. Okay, fine. But to allow us to bring you this data, this is something we definitely are doing as part of those metrics. So nothing need to be connected from first party perspective.
Okay.
On the other hand, for third party, yes, you're right. We need to connect third party tools if they want to be in place.
So when you say first party, is like what does it include? Like we have Teams and we have Office and we have uh, Azure and
Yeah. So first of all, we will have provide the documentation about that, but we you want to think about Defender first as a security product, right? So everything which coming to be under the security umbrella, which we named as Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and Defender for Application, Defender for Office. everything with regards to that are something we are using as a source. We even announced integration with ESM, Microsoft Defender for ESM. So everything with the extended attack surface, for example, is an initiative. So if we looked here, this is one of the famous initiative I was enabled. So if I go to the initiative page, you can see a variety of initiative. External attack surface protection, where it's all coming from. It's coming with the integration of Microsoft Defender external attack surface. So this one need to be connected. This is something the customer need to choose which kind of organization he wants to connect to, right? So if it's shy.com, ike.com, we just encourage you to go into, select your, and that's what allow us to query based on those patterns. From that moment, we will be able to provide you those metadata.
Okay, so those are all the connections that are already available now?
Yeah, those are all the initiatives. If we are not able to show you something which you haven't connected, it will be showed as grayed out. So within initiative, for example, if you don't have MDI, Microsoft Defender for Identity, we're not able to provide you data within those metrics. So you will see something like grayed out because this
Mhm.
doesn't have a connector yet. So we'll encourage you to connect it to that tool, for example. So yes, we can.
Let's go
Let's
to the
see it. Yeah.
connectors.
So if we look into endpoint security and
Mhm.
then expand the open initiative page and expand the view all metrics. And this one, for example, you can see we don't have data, right? So we mark them
Ah,
as example. So it could be the same experience with a grayed out. It's not really the same, but we encourage you to do and go to connect. So you can see something like this. There is no data support this matrix. There is no data for onboard that. You need to go and fully utilize this feature and to connect it to what's needed. So
okay.
again, just to share the experience about how
Yeah.
it's looked like.
Cool. So, okay, it is in the initiatives page, it is grayed out, meaning
Yes,
there is some sort of data that we don't have. It doesn't need to be all of them, but some.
correct. Metrics, some of the metrics, yeah.
Yes. And then in the initiative section itself, it shows you this triangle for something is not available.
Exactly. And
Okay.
that's mean that we don't have the data, we don't have the source, you haven't connected yet, like you said, maybe you don't have this solution, and we will encourage you to connect that solution to allow us, because currently we are not able to provide you data to show you the context of the wall exposure, right? We are talking about extended security posture management. So
Okay. Good. So I think let's have a look at the connectors to connect third party.
So going into the data connector page right now, those are the most currently requested third-party connectors. And one of them, I think we already discussed in our first chapter, Ike. It was with
Yeah.
regards
Yeah.
to the CMDB connector. So customer can connect it via this interface. They can go to that specific third-party connector, just click on the connect, provide the host name. It could be the username. And from that moment, the data will flow and allow us to reach our graph. Now, if you remember the map and the graph, it can also be queried by KQL, advanced hunting queries. We also
Hmm.
extend there, and those capabilities will allow us to get more kind of data to allow more richness based on the third party. Same as here, we already connected the Qualys. So you can see I have connected state. It's already connected to a Qualys third party solution, which allow me to do KQL query based on that, and also to grab some data which is related to CVEs, and to allow vulnerability kind of discoveries with regard to that third party as well.
So Shai, of course, as a defender for endpoint kind of person from the very beginning, I remember when we introduced the secure score, and I see in your exposure management a secure score. How is that now? Is it the same? Is it a different one? Did you grab it from uh, Defender XDR, or what's that secure score?
So first of all, Secure Score is a great product, and we are talking here about Microsoft Secure Score, right? There is also other Secure Score. I am coming from in the past Microsoft Defender for Cloud. We have Microsoft Defender for Cloud Secure Score. So this is still gonna be there, what we call, but all the mechanism that we are using for the initiative and the metric itself are gonna build on the top of secure score. So if you think about in the near future how it's gonna look like, everything within secure score will be combined into the exposure management tool, right? Because all the things that we looked at, such as the initiatives and the metrics, are gonna be based on the top of secure score. So secure score in the future is gonna be a very, I will call it a part of Microsoft Exposure Management Xspm tool to be kind of its art mechanism to calculate the scores, to give kind of we saw kind of things like such as state and most of it. So it's still in the list. It's still appearing in the menu under the exposure management, and that's how we actually looked about it.
So it will still be there, right? It will be enriched with other data, like exposure management will use it, but of course we will still have the term Microsoft Secure Score with.
As for now, yes. In the future, I want to see it like as something which will be part of the exposure management, right? Because we want to make sure you are looking at your exposure, because we are combining everything which is with Microsoft Secure Store into exposure management. So that's the
Okay.
direction if we see it like going forward, how the path is look like.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Shai. So I think I want to click on events. What's
Hmm.
events? What can I find there?
Oh, that's awesome. One of the features that we have released is called events, which is security event. Now, probably you ask yourself if you're looking about some score, let's say initiative like we talked about, ransomware, identity. If you encourage some drop, let's say increasing or dropping, you want to understand what caused that drop, right? If you're going from 80 to 60%, for example,
Yeah, yeah.
you want to be aware about what causing that. So this is all about events. The events, if you think about it, is a security events that summarize what was the major change that caused those metrics trends to be up and down, and to provide you this kind of information as an awareness, right? So if you have increased, have done an amazing job in ransomware, we will tell you, look, those critical device without exposure has dropped by some those kind of percentage.
The dashboard. So, like, it's basically a full list of all the individual things.
Exactly. You can see it here on the right when we call it recent
Oh,
security event. So when we click on the menu in event, it's just expanded out here the full context of those events. What was causing it? What was kind of changed in the last kind of time you have worked? Because it really depends about how much you are working, right? Try to accessing, want to see the trends and change going up and down, and to be kind of more aware where it's coming to.
wow. Okay. So, and then I think we already looked into, of course, the navigation. I think we looked into the map, that path. Did we look into the insights already?
So actually, we cover all of this. This was the initiative that I clicked there earlier. We
Ah,
have
yeah, yeah.
metrics,
Okay.
and
Metrics.
those,
Yeah,
yeah,
metrics. We looked into this.
yeah, metrics are part of the
Recommendations.
initiative,
Yes.
yeah. And the event, Secure Store, and Data Connector as well. I mean, the one more thing I want you to take from this is also the integration with threat article. So if someone want
Ah,
to see some kind of initiative which is related to some campaign, he can also do that. And I also got a
mhm.
great feedback about that. This is amazing. If there is a new, not that the campaigns are amazing, of course, but we are talking about the context, right?
Wow. So are you saying that there is the campaign and you are mapping the campaign to the assets? Whoa.
Yeah, exactly, Okay, you got the idea. So we try to get the data from the threat article initiative, try to bring them. If you want to focus on specific campaign to see how good or bad you are,
Oh,
you can get into that campaign, see what are the relevant metrics, try to
you
improve them.
got me. I mean, it's like if I would need it, I would immediately, but oh my God, Shai, I don't know if you remember when we had the internal call and you presented this. I was already blown away and I couldn't even. But now it has even improved even further. And of course, this is not the end yet. I know that
Correct.
the
Yeah.
team will continue to work on improving, adding, receiving feedback. So I would assume, Shai, is there a trial available for people that want to check it out?
So yes, Ike, it's a public preview, and everyone can use it if they are part of it.
Wow. Okay. So everyone, make sure you turn on the public preview features to check it out. I think I got all my questions answered. Is there anything that if someone gets started with it, so let's say they now like super eager, they found it, like some things that you would recommend them to maybe do right now or then maybe on a daily basis, like so that people can get used to it. What are your recommendations?
Yeah, first of all, try to look at the most important area which you want to examine. If you want to be more focused on ransomware or identity, try to look at those initiatives. Try to see what are the states, where are the areas when you could have quick wins. I always get the kind of
Hmm.
request from customers, what are could be the quick wins. Try to be in a good kind of standing of understanding what is critical, you need to focus and resolve it, keeping that in mind. So everything which is come to be help you prioritize, that's good. In the other end, try to build this kind of a cadence, like you said, using it on a daily could be great. Starting your daily coffee with, try to see how the environment is going through, what was the change, could be amazing to start with this journey.
Yeah. And I would like to add, of course, we do a good job in identifying critical assets, but go through the critical assets, think about, talk to your other stakeholders to make sure all of them are part of it, because the better
Definitely.
it's
That,
managed, the better the product can help
yeah.
you
It's
in
it,
being,
it's a shared responsibility. What we know, it's one thing. What you can provide us, it could
yeah,
be a dramatically change to
yeah,
allow
yeah.
us to help you to tackle and figure those as well.
Okay, so Shai, thank you so much for being part of my two-part episode that was supposed to be one, but you brought too much with you. And yes, thanks everyone for watching. Please check it out. And as always, you can provide feedback. We want your feedback. Use the feedback option in the portal, and it will land on the right table of that person. And then I hope I see everyone when we air the next episode. Thanks, everyone. Bye.